Welcome to the Tech Talk Podcast. We got the CSUN, some of the CSUN participants. We got the Gaspin Brothers, Larry Watkinson, Jane. How do you say your last name? Because I don't want to mess it up.
Officially, it's Jane Suh.
Suh, okay. And of course, we got Michael Badcock, always here causing trouble. All right, getting started. I want to talk to you guys about some devices and technology that we may or may not see coming soon. Let's start with Larry Watkinson. How was the Braille? I mean, because that's a big thing for people, the Evolved and the Activator, and maybe some stuff that's going to be better with mobile devices. What did you see that you liked or did not like at the CSUN conference?
Well, because I am not a Braille user, I'm a Braille user once removed. I did some visits to, like, for instance, the Dot. And I explored that product a little bit in the sense that some of the technology that they have a label maker that they're coming out with, and then of course the HumanWare, and those are probably about the two Braille devices that had any level of talk on. As you know, I was doing a lot of interviews during the CSUN event. And these were interviews that were based on people who join in Blind Information Technology Solutions.
I got to see the Braille Evolve, which is a new Windows-based note taker coming out of HumanWare. I got to see the new Braille Sense 7, which is the Android Braille device coming out of Selvis BLE. There was a 5-line Braille display. I think it was new haptics. It used some air compression technology to power the Braille cells. I got to see both the Monarch and the Dot Pad, which there is a huge difference between the Monarch and the Dot Pad.
I did see the Cadence. This is Michael here, and I got to play with it. It was a pretty cool little device. For those who don't know, Cadence is 12 cells across by 4 lines, so you get 48 cells. You are able to connect up to 4 cadences together, and it gives you that, what would be 8 lines of 24 cells. So it gives you quite a bit of Braille. It is very quick refresh rate. That's what impressed me the most, was how quickly it refreshed across the entire module. I don't know what to call it. I know Dave over at Cadence had told me what they call it, but I forgot. You can use third-party services with the Cadence, which is really interesting. So an example of that would be the Indy 500, and being able to watch that race watch along while the cars are traveling using the telemetry data that's available. There also was an opportunity to check out fireworks. I believe they were the fireworks over Disney or a similar video of sorts. And so that was pretty cool. And then the other thing that I checked out was from, I think it's called Tinkerbell Labs, because I always kept calling them Tinkerbell, and that is not the right name for them. But that is a Braille display, and I forget how many cells, I think it's 32, that they're targeting $1,200 on, that's based on Linux, which gives someone the opportunity to use third-party applications potentially. They are very much in the prototype stage, and there were some challenges with that particular display that I encountered, and I'm sure others did as well. And then, of course, the Dot Pad is pretty cool. I kind of want one. I just don't want to buy myself one. So if anyone wants to buy me one, or, they want to send me one, then I'm definitely open to that. But those are really the Braille items that I checked out.
One thing I want to talk to you Gaspin Brothers about, because you guys demoed it last year, and I think you guys are using it now. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is the Glidance? Was there any improvements to that, or was it even there?
Oh, no. They were there. First of all, we don't have them yet. They're thinking that maybe for those of us who are pioneers and who bought into it early, we will get them probably by mid to late, maybe mid to late summer. Things are subject to change, but that's what they hope will happen. We've had the chance to test it twice since ACB in Dallas. Some of the Glidance team came to, they did a swing of the West Coast. It came by the house, and we weren't the only ones. There were several others that had this happen too. And we went around the neighborhood using Glide. And then we had a demo at CSUN as well. It's improved tremendously, I think, in the year or so since we saw it in Dallas. It's smaller, it's more compact. They are now beginning to add voices to it as well, so that we will have the AI feature soon at some point. It's not there yet, but at least, and we can't talk to it, and it's not talking back yet to us, but we do hear voices when we push buttons on the handle of the device. In a very British sounding voice. You can change it if you want to, but it'll say left, right, whatever. So they've done quite a bit of changing since we saw it back in Dallas. John, do you want to add to that?
I think the responsiveness is a lot better now too, in terms of avoiding objects. And with this first version, when it comes out, you're going to have to know where you're going. It's not going to be able to lead you to a specific spot based upon a map. That's coming, but it won't be there at the initial launch. And they are really, in addition to doing what they've done all along, which is keep the customer apprised in terms of what's going on and asking for feedback, they're going to roll it out very slowly throughout the United States and later the UK, because what they want to do is track everything. And in case there's a problem somewhere, they want to be able to react to it quickly. So that's why the rollout is going to be slow, so that they can be very meticulous about it and make sure that it's as good as it possibly can be. And then later in the year, people in UK and Europe will have it, and then, they'll move along as they go and gain a lot of information during this early rollout. So more people now are saying it really feels like using a guide dog, except that you don't have to clean up after the Glidance. So I really enjoyed it, and I'll still keep my cane, but I think I'll be able to depend more on the Glidance after using it some more. You got to be able to gain a trust in the new device, because it's brand new and something totally different than what we're used to.
Yeah, but we've been using our canes for 50 years.
Yeah.
So the trust we have is in ourselves to adapt to what's around us, and then to move quick enough to avoid problems. But that's on us. They're asking us to have a lot of that trust in the Glide, which, for all intents and purposes, will see what's around it with its cameras, and hopefully will be able to show you that there's something in the way and you need to be aware of it and move so that you're not going to be harmed.
So you wouldn't recommend this for a new traveler?
Yeah, I think you could.
There's a learning curve, but I certainly, you could do it. I mean, you could, just like a new traveler who gets a guide dog, there's a learning curve. But once you learn how to use it, it's a valuable tool.
Yeah. I think, though, we have to be real clear. It is not a substitute for mobility skills. You have to have.
And they never said it was. A lot of people
exactly.
said so.
In fact, they were very, very clear when I interviewed them that this is not a substitute for mobility skills. You still need to be able to know traffic, detect traffic, be able to navigate traffic. You have to be willing to lift it as you go downstairs. You have to. There's some things that you'll have to do, but there's those of us who use guide dogs. There's certain things we have to do in certain situations besides cleaning up after them.
I never asked them this, but I'm not sure they would give it to somebody with no mobility skills. That would be dangerous.
I felt like I did not ask them that specifically.
Yeah.
They made the disclosure, but they're really wanting to learn from blind to devise a product for blind. And I really, there was sincerity around it. It was not like some big huge marketing success.
No.
And one of the changes they're going to make actually that was in the moment down there when I was talking to them is they're going to switch to an 8-inch wheel for the vehicle because of feedback that they had received from some of their users in terms of that, and so they're going to be using an 8-inch wheel on it. I don't know if you guys do that or not.
Yeah, I did. Well, they're still going to make changes that we haven't seen or won't see until we actually get our glides, because they're constantly going through these feedback sessions. We've had several focus sessions amongst a lot of us over the last couple of months where we sit in small groups into a Zoom room and they ask us questions and they get our responses. And then they write all this out and they decide, is this something we can put in? And if it is, when can we put it in? And then they ask other people. They are meticulous about the feedback they get, and then they have to decide, is this something worthwhile doing? So I've never seen anything like it from a developmental standpoint for a vendor that has a product that is going to be utilized by many, many people.
It's good that they've improved it, because I did test it myself down in Dallas and I was not impressed with it. It did some stuff that I did like it took me into a crowd and navigated around people, but it almost ran me into a pole. And like you guys said, you have to lift it to go upstairs. That's common sense.
I did not really check it out this year. I have had great experiences with it. I've tested it out the last 2 years at CSUN. I did not try it at ACB, but like those who had tried it for the first time, who might have been retired guide dog users, the experience is very similar to working with a dog, at least I found. So,
Michael, let's go back for a second as I take over the broadcast to Orbit, because you talked with Venkatesh Sherry, and we will talk to him on Tech Talk in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And because he did not talk about this when we had him on a month or two ago, because they weren't ready to talk about it. But there are some discount programs and some other things that Orbit is doing that are brand new as of CSUN. Subsidies and other things that people should know about.
Yeah, and I think it's important to get the word out about this. And Venkatesh has not paid me, though I mean, Venkatesh, my
he
PayPal
did pay
address
me.
is.
Paid John.
I wasn't supposed to say that. I'm sorry.
John, you don't have that money anymore. I found out where it was.
That's how it is.
So I think we had to give it to Cliff.
Venkatesh did announce with Orbit Research that they are doing a subsidy program. I'll run down the prices of those real quick, and then we'll talk a little bit about one of the new devices, and maybe either John or either of the Larrys has some more details about the one that I did not spend a lot of time checking out. So there's a subsidy program if your household income is under $75,000, so it's very generous for that. You can go to orbitresearch.com and follow the links to take advantage and apply for this subsidy program. What it does is lowers the price of their products somewhat significantly. So I don't know the retail price for the Orbit 20 or 20 Plus, but I do know with the subsidy program, the 20 drops down to $499 and the 20 Plus drops down to $599. So you can easily get a 20-cell, fully functional Braille note-taking device for under $600 and have access to that. The one that really gets me, and I'm super excited about, and I'm hoping in the near future, they keep saying it, so we'll see what happens in the near future, but I'm hoping that Bard will come to it, is the Orbit Player. And that normally is $299. With the subsidy, you get $100 off, and that puts it at $199. So you can get a full-fledged Daisy book reader for under $200 and have access to that through Orbit. And that was the main program that they mentioned. And then I want to talk about the Flow for a minute.
I think that Orbit Player is superb, and if I decide to get something as a backup to the stream, that would be the player I would get.
The one thing I wanted to ask before you move on to the Flow, Michael, is have they improved the Orbit and the performance? Not the performance, but the sound on it, because it was very, very loud when it first came out.
See, I have heard this comment from a lot of people, and I am not denying that it makes a noise. But if you're in an office environment or you're in an environment where recording isn't prevalent, yes, it makes a bit of noise, but also and again, I'm not being paid by Orbit. I feel like the advantage to that noise is you get that, what people often call signage quality Braille. It's very crisp and easy to feel. So yes, Cliff, it does make a noise. I don't know if it's quieter than it used to be, but I do know it's not as bad as I feel like often it's portrayed. And I only say this because I was using my BI40X earlier today, and I was refreshing it, and it was making a clicking sound. It wasn't as loud as the Orbit, but it was still making a clicking sound, so nothing silent.
I think we should also mention, though, that they have got this new, what's the word I'm looking for? Yes, thank you. It's on new technology, but from what I remember hearing, it is not going to be transported onto the older technology.
No.
So if you're expecting it to be on all technology by Orbit, it is not going to happen. But it will happen on the new technology.
And I have heard that Orbit is working on True Braille. So they call their version of Braille True Braille. And I've heard for years that Orbit is working on making a quieter refresh rate for the True Braille technology. I don't know how accurate that is, and rumors are rumors, but that could be something to keep in mind. Now, going in line with the with the piezo cells, with the Orbit Flow, Larry, do you remember, are they bringing that in both models, True Braille and piezo? I think so.
I believe so.
Yeah.
That's been 3 weeks ago, almost a month ago.
Yeah,
So
I know.
Yeah.
You should have got us while we were there, Cliff, if you wanted real information. The Flow is literally just a Braille display. It has a very smooth finish to it. It feels, I've heard it described as MacBook quality. It has just the Braille, and it's a 40-cell display that you can put either in front of, behind of, beside, wherever you want your computer. Know that the Flow does not have Bluetooth support, so you have to plug it into a computer or a mobile device. But I think that's going to allow it to keep its price down. It's going to allow it to be more available to people. And if you're working in a secure environment, having a Braille display versus a note taker gives you a lot more possibilities as well. So I'm really intrigued to where they go with this. And I got to put hands on that with the piezo cells and the True Braille cells. And I mean, yes, you can tell a difference. Yes, the piezo cells are significantly quieter, but I'm just intrigued by where that goes.
Comments when I went by their booth and was talking and just kind of observing and listening to people talk, people felt like the hardware just felt a little more beefier, and people were commenting about, that they've been happy with their progress and moving forward and having a more reliable product than what they've been known for. And in terms of a little bit of a noise, versus price point, I mean, you can afford to get into this unit, especially with the subsidy.
All right, good deal. Some Braille updates. I love reading Braille, but I hate writing it. Is the Orbit QWERTY or is it Perkins style?
So they do have the Q40 and Q20, which is a QWERTY keyboard with the Braille display on the bottom of it as well. So, but the Orbit readers themselves are Perkins-style Braille input.
Perkins, yeah.
Okay, all right. Moving on to the next topic, maybe. So, whatever. What about mobile apps or apps in general for technology across the board? As a blind community, we always are looking for accessibility, making sure things work, and then somebody always wants something to whine and cry about. So, are there any cool new mobile apps coming? Computer apps?
I think Michael should talk about the indoor navigation that they provided this year down there. Michael used it more frequently than I did.
What was the app called?
Good Maps.
Good Maps.
Good Maps.
Good Maps has been around.
Years.
Yeah, we've had it.
Yeah, I've used Good Maps. I just don't like the outdoor version. The outdoor version sucks, but the indoor version is good.
But it's reliability. Michael kept bragging about just how dependable and reliable the product was for him to use.
Well, Larry, that's because Michael needs somebody to hold his hand and walk him around anyway. So, I mean,
no, I don't want anyone holding my hand.
But he forewent that. Kathy offered to help him a lot, and he was great.
What I could tell you is this is the first year in my memory that we just got this like maybe a week before. It's the first time we ever had IRA for free in the entire hotel, and then good maps inside the hotel. So you had a choice of either and or both if you really got lost.
Yes.
But it was terrific, and it was such a neat feeling. Not only that, but Good Maps wasn't really as helpful in the exhibit hall, but Ira certainly was.
By the way,
Yeah.
the outdoor app is now Indigo as of October, and that is a nice app. I think it's much better than the old EPH outdoor app. It reminded me a lot of the Sendero features that they had years ago, and it's a good app outdoors. So I would encourage people to go take a look at it.
Let's go back to Michael here for Good Maps.
Yeah, I cannot disagree with John. Indigo is amazing, and I really like it. And it helps you get unlost sometimes. Just saying.
Yes, it does.
Yes,
Proper
it does.
word, but it does. So I used Good Maps the entire time I was there. I think that's what drained most of my battery.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know that it was horrible on the battery, but the minute I walked out of my room, walked to the end of the hallway, and then I would open Good Maps. If I had one complaint, it would be Good Maps developers. Let me put in where I am. Don't make me stand in it and rotate in a circle, and then you figure out where I am. Let me say I'm by the east elevators. Because then you can start calculating. I would be able to get going a lot faster than what I was able to. Another app that I'll mention, Cliff, and I want to play with it. And if they're listening, I want to be on your beta. And if any of you guys have a test flight link for their beta, just go ahead and send it over to me, and I won't tell anyone. But this is NaviLens, and NaviLens is now available on the Meta Ray-Bans. And this was my first experience with a direct integration with the Ray-Bans. It really had me intrigued by how it's going to work moving forward. For those who don't know, NaviLens provides, I think you can create the codes yourself, and dependent on the size of the codes, depends on how far away you can see that code, and I use see with air quotes, from your phone or your Meta Ray-Bans or other devices. And you can include as much or as little information as you want on the code. And I think the furthest distance they quoted that you can scan a code from is 60 feet away. This is appearing in more and more transit centers for people to use to navigate. And there's a lot of other places it's going to start appearing in the near future. And I did hear that they are on some Kellogg's cereal as well. So it's pretty intriguing.
Robin Frost did a thing on Facebook that I got from one of the guys up here in Washington. You posted, and she went and bought some merchandise and was going through it, and all of a sudden NaviLens was actually on this packaging. I can't remember if it was detergent, laundry detergent, or what, but it's like, oh my God, I might just want to start helping my wife shop again.
They're on Kellogg's for sure. Maybe more than just Kellogg's, but
anyhow, I just thought it was interesting. So,
Jane, you're a technology instructor. Did you see anything there besides the Braille products and apps we already talked about that would enhance your teaching or students' ability to navigate or perform better in the world as we see it?
Well, briefly on NaviLens, I don't know if it's still there, but briefly for a while it was at LA Union Station. This was a couple of years ago. But it was really cool to have it scan the different is it QR codes? I don't know what they use, but to have it scan and we know where different stops were. As far as I got to see the Braille Doodle, and now I have one in my hands. Well, the Braille Doodle right now is halted production due to some manufacturing things going on. And a lot of the developments with smart glasses, I got to see the Echo Vision smart glasses. Now I want one. If someone can put me in a Pioneer program, that'd be great. But yeah, a lot of enhancements to the SDK of the Meta Ray-Bans are coming out, and so hands-free navigation is here. Hopefully improving with different apps and stuff.
Larry Watkinson, you for lack of a better term, have are strong opinionated on certain things. So what did you not see that you were expecting to see that you thought we should have saw there?
Well, I was disappointed. Brava, my wife and I bought one last year, and they weren't there this year, but they had done a nice thing on NFB. So I was looking forward to seeing them to just kind of see where they were going with the product, because it is very accessible. As many of you know, I like to cook, and I really seen this as being it's a nice tool in the house. If you don't want to fire the whole oven up, and you just want to do simple breakfast, or we've done meatloaf and other things in it. It's like that. I had a little higher expectations on the smart glasses. And then I attended Judy Dixon's workshop. She did a 40-minute presentation on smart glasses, and it was with 5 bottles of wine. And what she did is she asked the same questions of each of the glasses, and and trying to locate which bottle of wine was which on these 5 bottles that were on the counter. And then she had a cap that she actually put on the floor, strategically speaking, in one of the glasses to describe what they were, and that respects. And the Echo glasses came in second, and then the Meta glasses actually ended up at the end of the day coming in first. It took a little bit more prompting, and then the third pair of glasses. I'm gonna blow this one. Michael or Larry, maybe you jump in. But there's a third set that she had demonstrated.
Alloy Solos glasses.
Yes, thank you. And they just totally came in way off the mark, and started describing the couch that was in the room and a whole bunch of other stuff that was in the room. And so what it did do is to affirm to me that these smart glasses are in the infancy. I'm happy that I still rely on my on my Metas. Those have really been very helpful to me. Kayla, who's with us in Bits, she has 3 pairs of those glasses, and I think from the standpoint that she uses hers all day long, and it's amazing what reactions she gets out of them. And Judy's presentation essentially presented that, because Kayla does use her glasses for like doing filing and looking at documents in the office when she's trying to work with some non-PII information. I guess what I'm really looking forward to is Apple going to get there? Is Apple going to do something in the ecosystem?
Oh, yeah.
And are they going to be there before Meta really controls the market in that respect? And so I thought smart glasses were a little weak there this year with what they could really potentially do comparatively to the Meta. What people's impression were with size. I felt like population was probably a little up from where it's been the last couple of years, but I felt like maybe some of the booth occupation and the breaking news of that new product was lacking this year. I thought that was we had a little bit more new product conversations last year, but maybe that's just me.
I think that, let's go back to your glasses. I think that, Meta was the number one because they've been around longer and they've got a lot of money behind them. So they should be number one at this point. The other two are still really developing their products. And so I don't judge them yet because they're still relatively young, and we'll see what happens with them. They're small companies where Meta has the advantage of being a big company, along with Facebook. I have some real problems with privacy in Meta and Facebook. But that's me, and I can do or not do as I choose, and so can everybody else. But they do make a good product, and they do a lot of good for people, and that's what counts. Freedom Scientific.
But hold on. We shouldn't discount what your concern is there. That should not be discounted. Judy didn't make that comparison, right?
No, she didn't. No,
and I don't. But I don't think we should discount your security concern. for instance, Kayla, works in a government agency. She can't use those glasses when it comes to hardcore work of the confidential things she has.
Right.
And even though she's talked to Meta about privacy issues, and they've said, well, we're looking at maybe doing a corporate structure, to where, the PII information, that's the personal identifiable information, if anybody's wondering what that PII means. And so I have, so Larry, you in your comments, that should just not be dismissed.
I used the Metas. I tested them, I should say, last year, or not last year, when they first came out, and I really, really, really wasn't impressed with them. I've heard that they've gotten a lot better. And to your question, Larry Watkinson, I think Apple is going to jump into it, but I don't know if it's going to be even. I mean, it's Apple, so people will try them, of course. But if Meta and other companies and Google's supposed to be coming out with their version 2 this year, and there's already got so many hands in the pot, for lack of a better term, what are you going to go with? Who's going to make the most money?
Yeah.
Who's going to be bothered with what company?
Depends on price. If Apple jacks their prices up, they're going to be in trouble.
Right.
And remember, Google was in the market once before as pioneers, and they left. Was it because it was too ahead of their time? Or what? I don't know.
Maybe.
But, Maybe. And so it'll be interesting to see it, because there's a lot of people who had those, and folks were, when Ara had the glasses available, they were on the Google platform, et cetera, and people bought those, and they got a little disappointed. So I don't know how much, history resentment there might be about having that product and then having it taken away.
One thing I found interesting, and one of the Gaspins, I'm not even going to try to guess which one I remember it was, about the privacy thing. That is a big deal. And, at the end of the day, you can decide what you want to share and not share. But a lot of companies are taking this more seriously. For instance, I know Amazon, they have for people who work at their warehouses, because there's a lot of, the blind community is really starting to integrate into the warehouses across the country. I'm one of them. But what they've done is they used to have they used to do Seeing AI. But now they use Be My Eyes. But the difference is it's a Be My Eyes corporate account. So these are literally Amazon workers who wait for the employees to call in to get help navigating the warehouse or navigating the parking lot or anywhere on Amazon property. So it is a corporate account. They didn't want to go with Seeing AI no more. I don't know why. That's above my pay grade. But Be My Eyes, I actually have a Amazon phone, a phone that's paid for by Amazon, I should say, with a Be My Eyes corporate account on it. So if I use Be My Eyes, it's going directly to Amazon and the people that they pay to help us out navigate Amazon property. I think the one thing that I missed with the Be My Eyes thing is the first thing that it asks you when you open up the Be My Eyes app now is that it asks you if you want to integrate with your Meta glass, if you have Meta glasses to integrate with it. So they're using the cameras on it now directly with Be My Eyes. So whether you have a corporate or personal account.
What do you guys think the future of CSUN is?
I don't think it's going anywhere unless they choose to go somewhere. If they do a new contract somewhere else, like I think it would not be as good in San Francisco just because it's very expensive in San Francisco. Plus, vendors would not be happy. Some have told me already. Just getting there is not easy.
Well, I should also mention. I should also mention that WeWalk was there with their cane.
I was just about to ask you about that.
Yeah, it literally is an Ambutech cane with a lot of tech built into the handle, and it operates like a cane, and it operates a little bit differently, and it's not the same as using a dog or a glide. It's a lot like using a cane with information in the handle. Some people will like that, some will not, and we have choices, that's for sure. And the prices, I think, I shouldn't say because I don't know what it is for sure. It's a little bit under the Glide, but they're different devices, and
right.
So to each his own. And take a look at both of them, and if you go to a convention or go back to CSUN, try them both out and get used to them, and make your decision.
So I'd like to thank John, both Larrys, and Michael, I guess, along with Jane for joining us for this CSUN wrap-up. Seems like we're going to be doing this every year because John and Larry were here last year. Michael and Larry what's your last name? Watkinson. Thought they were too good to be on my show last year, so.
No, actually, that's not quite true.
Actually, I did invite you. You had another engagement, right?
Yeah, it was called, I was in the hospital.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we'll give you a pass that time.
Did you guys hear that?
Going into the hospital.
Cliff has given me a pass.
I'm going to give you a pass this time. Pass for Michael, I don't know.
Yeah, next year, though, next year he'll give me a pass over.
Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.